Welcome into episode 176 of The Checklist, brought to you by SecureMac. I'm Ken Ray.
And I'm Augustrometer.
What's scarier than an unregulated database of 3 billion faces? How out of control the whole thing is. Clearview AI, a story in 3 parts on this edition of The Checklist, brought to you by SecureMac. It's been a bad few weeks for Clearview AI. Maybe, though, if they hadn't been creepy and awful, their weeks would have gone a little bit better. TechCrunch says Clearview AI is facing a class action suit similar to one that cost Facebook over $500 million. Let's back up, though. August, can you tell people what Clearview AI does?
Basically, they've got about 3 billion pictures of people that they compare to people in surveillance video. Want to know who that man or woman is in the ATM footage or a store's security video? Clearview AI runs the image in question through its 3 billion pictures and tries to find a match.
Now, you may hate that, but that's not the real issue, believe it or not, at least not from a legal standpoint.
Right. What's concerning a lot of people is how they got the database of 3 billion photos. A report from Engadget says Clearview scraped images from social media profiles. Until it got caught, the company reportedly lifted pictures from Twitter, Facebook, Venmo, and millions of other websites over the past few years. And those companies obviously aren't very happy about that. Twitter, Google, YouTube, Facebook, and Venmo all have sent cease and desist letters to Clearview AI telling them to cut it out.
Okay. So based on what we've covered so far, I hate Clearview AI. Is what they're doing illegal, though?
Well, they don't think so. The company's CEO defends their actions, saying that they have a First Amendment right to scrape people's online data.
Because it's stuff that we all posted publicly.
Right, except they may be wrong. Plaintiffs in the class action case say Clearview's whole business model violates the Biometric Information Privacy Act, which sounds like it's from California, but it is actually a law passed in Illinois way back in 2008. A write-up of the law on Wikipedia says the BIPA requires that companies, 1, obtain consent from individuals if the company intends to collect or disclose their personal biometric identifiers, 2, destroy biometric identifiers in a timely manner, and 3, securely store biometric identifiers. And of course, your face is a biometric identifier.
Right. Yeah. It's the only one I got. Not the only biometric identifier, the only face, although I can make a few. So I'm guessing then that Clearview AI did not do any of those things that they were supposed to do according to the law.
Well, actually, as far as we know, they seem to have stored the biometric identifiers in a secure way. But they had another storage issue we'll talk about in just a little bit.
Okay, so then what does the lawsuit allege?
Well, the lawsuit filed last month argues that Clearview actively collected, stored, and used plaintiffs' biometrics and the biometrics of most of the residents of Illinois without providing notice, obtaining informed written consent, or publishing data retention policies.
Now, the funny part of this story to me is Facebook is upset because some of the information was scraped from Facebook. Facebook, though, has also agreed to pay a lot of money recently for violating these exact same laws.
Yeah. Basically, folks in Illinois sued Facebook, arguing that it gathered facial recognition data on faces without disclosure.
Well, I mean, people knew that they were putting their faces on Facebook, though, right? I mean, it's called Facebook.
Sure. But what they didn't know was that Facebook would scan the pics, match them to other pics, and try to identify the users, again, without any consent.
Okay, so what does this mean for the Clearview case?
Well, it's way too early to say. So far, the lawsuit has a judge with summons sent to Clearview and the company that sells its services to law enforcement. How it's going to go and how far it's going to go still remain to be seen.
Part 2 of today's Clearview AI story deals with security. I will say the perverse part of me thinks that it's kind of funny. They're using pictures that we've all, kind of given away on Facebook, on Instagram, and just about everywhere else. But it's actually not our pictures that got leaked because, if it's on the checklist, there's a pretty good chance there has been a data breach involved. So if they didn't get our pictures, what did they get?
Well, they got the names of the people who wanted our pictures. Engadget says Clearview says that a recent vulnerability allowed someone to gain unauthorized access to a list of all its customers.
Okay. A recent vulnerability. What do we know about the vulnerability?
Nada.
Oh.
We don't know a darn thing.
Okay. Can we guess anything about the vulnerability?
Sure. Any number of things that we've talked about on the show before. If they have your name and email address, they could potentially find your password, either in a hacker database or just by using simple passwords. And you're not using any of those, right? In addition, if the bad guys have your email address, they could send you links to malware or phishing scams to get those passwords. Basically, if you see an email, always be suspicious of it. If it says it's from your bank or Amazon or whatever, just type the URL into the URL bar of your browser. Don't click the link in the email. If you have any legit notices, those sites will tell you when you log in.
Okay, I think you and I might be talking about two different things, though. Because, what you just said there is a great thing, if you're concerned about being caught up in a data breach or something like that. I'm asking how it is that people might have been able to get at Clearview AI's stuff. Things like, did they do something dumb and leave it on an open server someplace? Would this have been a phishing thing? What kinds of things might have tripped them up? Because the stuff's just laying out there.
It could have been just, on Amazon and somebody found it. It could be on iCloud. Who knows? But these lists get downloaded and then they're out there.
Okay. So now the other shoe to drop is the list of clients, which includes...
Well, we don't know exactly that either. We have a list of companies, and by we, I mean news organizations. We have a list of companies, but they may not all be clients. The Engadget report I mentioned a minute ago says Clearview works with approximately 600 law enforcement agencies across North America. And this is the funny part, including the Chicago Police Department.
Oh. That would be the Chicago in Illinois.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. That's potentially awkward.
Then there are other law enforcement groups, including divisions of the Department of Justice, ICE, Customs, Border Patrol, Interpol, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York. Then there are authorities from foreign governments as well. The most disturbing part, though, might be the companies that use Clearview AI or might use it. A few names that turned up in articles about the breach included Best Buy, Macy's, Madison Square Garden, the NBA, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Kohl's, Albertsons, and the high-end chain of gyms Equinox.
Okay, and they're all using Clearview?
Well, you and I don't know. But people with access to the full list might be able to figure it out. Both the NBA and Madison Square Garden say they tried it out but never moved forward with implementation. Meanwhile, BuzzFeed News has looked at some of Clearview's internal documents. It includes a list of 2,900 institutions. Over 2,200 of those have run nearly 500,000 searches using Clearview AI, including over 5,000 by the FBI, over 5,000 by the Secret Service, and over 6,000 by Macy's.
I want to go over a statement by a Clearview attorney. He said, "Security is Clearview's top priority. Unfortunately, data breaches are part of life in the 21st century. Our servers were never accessed. We patched the flaw and continue to work to strengthen our security." Whatever. Is any of that true?
Well, sure. Just like theft is part of life. But that's not a good excuse. I mean, these people should be taking security seriously and really not even be in business doing what they're doing. And they're putting all of us at risk.
Okay. I mean, yeah, but I mean, even just boiling down to the actual truth part of the words. I mean, not even like philosophically is it true. I mean, if their servers were never accessed, where are they keeping the list of 2,900 institutions that did get accessed by somebody who doesn't work for their company?
Well, what's crazy to me is they say our servers were never accessed, but we patched the flaw.
Right. Right.
So if they weren't accessed, then you didn't have a flaw?
Well, again, I mean, maybe their servers weren't, but they're storing their information someplace else. What I feel bad about is there's so many times that we've talked about so many stories where somebody left, what is it, Amazon S3, where somebody would leave like an S3 server just open and people would get into it. And I'm worried that people are going to think that we're saying there's something wrong with Amazon. But it's like we've talked about before. The biggest danger in the cloud is not the cloud, it's the implementation. So, I mean, they could actually be being honest here and saying our servers were never compromised. We do rent server space on something else, though. And, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's just not the best password, no matter how many times August says.
And I will say, yes, we're not bashing on Amazon at all. As a matter of fact, I'm a big user of AWS and, the S3 stuff that they have in place. If you use it correctly, you wouldn't have problems like this. So either they left something unsecured, the company left something unsecured, or, it was hosted elsewhere where somebody found it.
Or they're just lying about their servers not being accessed.
Correct.
We'll end our look at Clearview in a moment, but first a word about MacScan 3 from SecureMac. How many times has this happened to you? You make a mistake, you don't realize it for a week, maybe a month, then a problem pops up because of that mistake. Wouldn't it be great if somebody had been keeping an eye on things before they got out of hand? That's basically what MacScan 3 does. MacScan 3 detects and removes Mac malware, catches keyloggers, removes tracking cookies. As soon as it spots something, it'll tell you about it and get rid of it, so you won't be a month into your mistake. MacScan 3 can do that for part of your system or all of it, all without crowding up your hard drive or slowing down your computer. Let SecureMac's 2 decades of experience work for you and keep your machine clean with MacScan 3 from SecureMac. Sign up for a free 30-day trial today at securemac.com/MacScan. That's MacScan 3 by SecureMac. Your 30-day free trial is waiting at securemac.com/MacScan. Well, frustrating as the Clearview story may feel, and as slow as decisions may be as to whether it's breaking various rules or laws, Clearview AI broke one rule and has been slapped back for it. TechCrunch ran a piece last week saying that the Clearview AI app had been knocked off the iPhone. Now, you may wonder how the app made it through the app approval process in the first place, and the answer is it did not. Rather, Clearview was telling people how to install its app using the Clearview Enterprise Certificate, which is against Apple's rules. Now, for folks who don't remember, can you remind people, August, what Apple's Enterprise Certificate program is and does?
Sure. The Enterprise Certificate program allows companies to distribute apps internally to employees so that those apps don't need to be listed in the App Store. That way, employees can have the app, but no one else can.
For legitimate purposes, why would an organization rather use an enterprise certificate than going through the App Store?
Well, for example, let's say your company sells beverages to restaurants, and maybe you create an app that can order things for those restaurants. That's not something that anyone who's not an employee would need. So you distribute the app via the enterprise method, making sure that only those who need access to the app have it. And those that don't need access, like the public, wouldn't.
Okay, so then for illegitimate purposes, what are some of the most likely reasons that a company you don't work for would try to get you to install an app outside the App Store?
Well, that's where it gets tricky. Apple created the enterprise program with really good intentions, but a lot of companies said, hey, we could use this to skip the App Store process. And they started using it to distribute apps to the public. Companies that have done this are Facebook, Google, gambling apps, and porn apps.
And then telling people outside of the organization how to use the enterprise certificate to install something that hasn't been approved by Apple is a no-no.
Yeah, and everybody knows that, or certainly Clearview should have known that. We talked a lot last year about Facebook and Google doing the same thing, guiding customers through installing apps on their respective enterprise certificates. They got caught, and it ended up being really bad news for Facebook. Apple killed its enterprise certificate, which not only killed access to the offending app for people outside of Facebook, it killed access to any other app that operated under Facebook's enterprise certificate, including a lot of legitimate applications Facebook employees use to do their jobs.
They killed their lunch menu as well. I don't know if you remember that, but people couldn't order lunch on Facebook's campus because that was using the iOS enterprise certificate. So
right.
It wasn't just bad. It was also,
oh my God, they're starving.
How do you order lunch without a phone? I don't understand. Anyway, you may be wondering how we know as much as we do about the Clearview AI app. It's because Clearview, and remember, security is Clearview's top priority. TechCrunch found the Clearview AI iPhone app in a public Amazon S3 storage bucket. Now, the app they found was labeled beta, which may mean it was a pre-release version. A warning on the bucket asked people to please not share the application. It did, however, provide instructions on how to install the app under Clearview's enterprise certificate. Aside from the beta designation, TechCrunch says there is no evidence to suggest that this app was not used by Clearview AI customers. As indicated earlier, once found out, Apple killed the Clearview enterprise certificate. Clearview CEO says he and his are in contact with Apple and working on complying with their terms and conditions. And I'll bet those calls are just going great.
and I'm pretty darn sure that the app was stored right next to a folder that said, list of all customers, do not open.
Yeah, right. Don't look in here. Whatever you do, don't look in here. Beta. Hey, if you're looking for more security information, news, some how-tos, things like that, the place to look is securemac.com/checklist. There you'll find notes for this show, for the last show we did, for all the shows we've ever done, and you can listen to every single one of them right there, too. It all begins at securemac.com/checklist. If you have a question you would like to ask or a topic you would like to hear us hit, our email address is checklist@securemac.com. That address again is checklist@securemac.com. And if you can't remember that, please do remember this. You're listening to The Checklist, brought to you by SecureMac. And we'll talk to you next week.